Hey, hello. It's that time again. For another live. I was just gonna record it and just let it fly, and then just post it out into the sphere. But I decided to just go live, see what happens, see who may stop by, who may show up. Let's see. Mm, Let me come out of screen share for 1 second. Because I didn't do that thing that I was supposed to do before. Let's see. Oh, memories. Like when I didn't understand that I had to go to the watch page and see the comments. That was really funny. Okay. So just in case, whatever. I know I've been kind of off of the game for a second. So yeah. All right. So let's return to the title. A white identitarian calls into the Yvette Carnell show. Okay, so is anybody can go back through the videos here on this channel, by the normal ways of seeing things I've talked about. I think, what am I like? I think I'm 2 videos. This will be the 3rd video in relation to some Yvette Carnell live stream. The first one I think was during the discussion that arose after the New York Times posted that weird ass study about millionaire black boys end up in prison just like a $36,000 a year household producing white men do, or something to that effect. Then there's a cool video. I'm actually gonna link these in the description. I might have to go do that. What was it? There's oh, the it was about something, and I can't. It might have been around the Meghan Markle Harry wedding, on the edge of that happening, that it became this thing. And then basically one of the callers called in and said, we gotta He said a few things. I remember her telling us that we have to drink 3 buck chuck and eat sandwiches in the park to. Oh, memories. Anyway, Beck Carnell. She's like her channel can be the definition of a lol cow. Because like I've said, I can't stand here and this thing and black people. They're a great living case study. So I think she only posts goes live twice a week. So usually at work, she usually banks at about 2 hours. So it's a great stream to listen to while I'm doing my normal duties during the day. And if there's something lulzy to pull, I'll pull that shit out. And I just did it again. And it was crazy because last night I was listening to this while I was cooking. And I was just half listening and I just heard something some kind of laugh or some kind of gasp or guffaw. And I was like, no way. So let's watch it in full. It's he's on for maybe 2 minutes. Then we'll stop and we'll go back through and we'll break this down piece by piece. And I'll let this take me wherever it takes me. Now it's still live, and I'm thinking maybe just seeing how the energy goes. Maybe someone shows up, or I feel like, hey, there's something else I want to do. There's something new that I want to do on this channel. I want to do a song history, song study, but I'm kind of nervous because of the whole copyrighty things. I don't want someone to come back and bite the video in full. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Or maybe I'll just do a general kind of survey of the news and something to that effect. So anyway, let's watch this. Let's watch this beautiful clip. So as I mentioned in the comments, it's about the 1 minute 12-second timestamp so you don't miss anything. So I have here 1:12:13. All right, let's go. We'll go full screen. Why not?
I'm going to 612. 612, I'm coming to you. What is your name? Where you calling from?
Eric, I'm calling from Minneapolis.
What's going on? What's on your mind?
I just wanted to call you about a couple of different subjects. I've actually been a long-time listener, and I really appreciate what you're doing. And the theme of tonight's show is kind of breaking down the fact that America's somewhat disintegrating. And, well, I don't foresee, it's hard to say what's really going to happen with America over the next couple decades.
Uh-huh.
It may on for a while, or if we might see a collapse. But the apocalyptic stuff is somewhat science fiction, so I'm going to stay away from that. Assuming everything stays together, the country is polarizing more and more and more. And I'm probably, on the surface, very different than lots of your listeners, but that has nothing to do with it. One of the key messages that's so important is the fact that Black Americans need to see themselves as a group first. And as America gets more and more diverse with more and more immigration and blah, 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 all these other groups are going to be looking out for their own self-interest. Whether it's Mexicans, Chinese, Nigerians, whoever, they're going to see themselves as their own tribe, as their own group, and they're going to be helping their own group. And ultimately, they have a home. If the science fiction apocalyptic America goes belly up, they still have a place to go. White Americans, Black Americans, Native Americans, or Indigenous Americans, First Nation, we don't have any other place to go. White Americans, I can't go back to Germany. You as a Black American cannot just go back to Africa. We don't have any other homes. And so until Americans start actually seeing ourselves as actual owners of this nation, and actually, I mean, I consider myself a white identitarian, but I'm not
You consider yourself a what?
A white identitarian.
What's that?
I mean, I'm basically, I'm a white racialist. I want the best that's for white Americans. But the white
you want the best? Wait a minute. You want the best for who?
I want what's best for white Americans as my own people, but I also want what's best. But the thing about being a
you can't come on here and say you want what's best for white Americans and then think you're going to keep talking. Why do you say, I didn't say, what's wrong with everybody? He said, I'm a white identitarian. He called in to Breaking Brown. White people, y'all some bold people. He called in to Breaking Brown and said, I'm a white identitarian. And I said, what's that? And he says, I want what's best for white people. But, ain't no but after you say, I want what's best for white people. Ain't no but. Ain't no but. I want what's best for white people, but I want y'all to have some chicken legs and potato wedges and maybe some. What are you talking about? Oh my God. I feel unwell. I feel unwell all day. Oh. Anyway, I'm going to 202. I'm coming.
I couldn't let the laugh factor just had to come in. I'm sorry. I was suppressing it. Once you see these things a couple times, you're like, oh yeah, you know where all the where the lull factor is coming in. So anyway, yeah, that was a oh, I didn't turn the screen share back on. Well, why not? Let's turn that back on. I'm sorry, I totally forgot I turned that off to go fiddle, and I didn't turn it back on. Anyway, so actually that's probably more impressive. You heard it, you just heard the message verbally. So you got the full, it was 3 minutes. Wow, you only lasted 3 minutes before she cut him off. So it's funny. So first, Eric from Minneapolis, if there's anybody who knows this person is, dude, please, let's be friends and talk. You should come on here and we can chitter chatter and all that good stuff. So I think what I'll do is I'll do the long run here at this point. We're just gonna watch and stop, and we'll take it from there. So, but first, just in summary. So I'm not surprised. It's funny. There's actually a few people that I've been talking to. I was going to suggest to man, I would like to see more white identitarians and folks, especially even some of the conversations I've had with people like Babs, people like Luke and Dennis Dale over time. I kind of want to be you guys should be calling into shows like this. Okay, so as you've seen in the previous videos, I have nothing very good to say about Yvette Carnell, and majority of people who support her channel and people who listen in. There's just way too much goofy, black, dippity-doo, weird, just insanity that I cannot support. I do not condone. But I can say that enough. You can see some of the previous videos I've done on her channel that will say that. But let me tell you why, a couple of reasons it's beneficial. One, it's interesting to like have a real life in, real time case study of where the pulse is amongst certain populations of Black people who support these channels, where they're thinking economically, where they're thinking socially, etc., that it is beneficial. And I do find myself kind of in a way that in my own day-to-day life, that where I don't interact with very many Black people in any kind of sense of the term, I get to hear kind of where the pulse kind of is. Like, she's kind of tied in with the Tone Talks guy, who's also another kind of Black economic-y person. Like, they're really big on this idea of like pushing it's called, like, they call it DOS, descendants of slaves, specifically isolating like the Black experience into the people who are Black Americans, who myself are included. We've been here for hundreds of years. We're descendants of sub-Saharan African slaves who came here directly or through a couple channels to predominantly the southern, states of America to work in the slave trade. That's us and our shared lineage, 5, 6, 10 generations, bringing us to 2018. It's not the second generation or third generation Nigerian or the Ethiopian or whoever else shows up here. And I do like the emphasis they put on that separation, because it's one of the key things I kind of go back and forth into with some, especially more the general alt / dissident right scene, where, well, the Blacks, they'll just go back to Africa. A couple of streams ago, like I said, I've been listening for a little bit. She does mention like, well, some of her experiences with Africans, and just there's not. It was an interesting anecdote. Basically, she was at an airport or something, and the African security guy was really short and quick with her, like, "You're in the wrong line. Get over there." Da, da, da. And she kind of was basically saying, for better or for worse, like, "Oh well, other Black Americans, DOS, descendant of slaves types, what's usually occurred amongst us is this kind of way of being where you see another Black person, you know, that you kind of treat each other in a certain way because you have this very distinct Black American identity that insinuates that we gotta look out for each other, stick together. Sometimes, be a little extra nicer, kids gloving each other about certain things. Whereas you don't always, if you do get it, or you don't always get it with people who are, just second, third generation Africans from the continent. And I guess even you can take it a little further. Dee Dee Russell, who runs the Facebook page, Black Women with Other Brothers, she mentions her experience in London recently, where she kind of felt that the Black Americanness as a woman carried a certain cachet that other groups of Black women didn't carry. And actually, it's funny thing when I remember her saying that, my experience, it was a very brief, flickering encounter. We stayed at a hotel in a very small town where the wedding was, and it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. We gotten back for some reason, and I had to go back to the front desk because I was trying to contact them because some other people staying there were part of the wedding group. Blah blah. And this white woman looks up and she hears me talking to the guy. They're both white. And she just looks over and she's like, "I love that American accent. That's like awesome." It's just basically like, look at that pure unadulterated American accent. And I said, "Huh," I laughed because I was very surprised. I'm like, it's funny. We do that about y'all back at home. Like, oh my God, British accents. So I didn't realize, like, how sultry my American accent was. You know, so basically saying like these kind of differences, these intersectionalities, if you will, that people run into. Basically going back to what I was originally saying, she's kind of outlined. She was kind of laying out the fact that there's not just all this commonality, like the Blacks aren't just going back to Africa. Now, granted, Eric said that in his comment here, which is really interesting and telling, because he does make a good point. Someone said this once, like the Black Americans, the DOS, descendant of slave types, and the pretty much the white Americans who've been here. I mean, from the WASPs all the way through the later editions of the Italians and Irish, we in this country, I guess along with the Native Americans of the varying tribes they have and do fall into, we're the only indigenous because I feel we're saying indigenous. We're the only people that all speak American, English. A lot of the later editions, especially you get to the Hispanics and to the Asians. Now, granted, amongst those populations, depending where they are generationally, they don't all speak English too, or some of them don't even speak the native tongues of their parents. However many generations removed, there's a differenceness amongst us and these. I kind of call us like we're like the three OG groups of this country, and one of the big things that I've kind of been batting around in my head for years is there's a conversation amongst the Native Americans of the various tribes, the Black American descendants of slaves, and the whites, particularly those who have been here since before the Civil War. But then I have to, because of now just where we're at post 2018, I even have to just drag that out even further to like everyone that's been here before World War II, because there's so many happenings and folding ends of white European peoples into discussion where we're basically these three groups with a lot of broad differences and distinctions. We're the people that need to sit down and have a talk and figure out what to do. All these people who come after 1965, they're part of the discussion, but not really, because the origins of the American condition belong to us. And since we've never sat down as three people and had a discussion in all these years of all these changes in immigration, social policy, what have you, we're the ones who need to have a discussion to figure out who does what, and where to go. But so that's just one quick thing there. Yeah, so do we? No, we haven't. So that was just one little tangent there. Let's just, again, you saw how quick it was. He's on there before he gets like showed on the Yvette Carnell live stream. So, let's pick this apart a little bit.
I will help how I can. That's why we're here. We family, right? You can't say you family, you can't help nobody. Kind of family, deadbeat family. They ain't no family. Anyway, I'm going to 612. 612, I'm coming to you. What is your name? Where you calling from?
Eric, I'm calling from Minneapolis.
What's going on? What's on your mind?
I just wanted to call you about a couple of different subjects. I've actually been a long-time listener, and I really appreciate what you're doing. And the theme of tonight's show is kind of breaking down the fact that America is somewhat disintegrating. And, well, I don't foresee, well, it's hard to say what's really going to happen with America over the next couple of decades. It might hobble along for a while, or we might see a collapse. But the apocalyptic stuff is somewhat science fiction, so I'm going to stay away from that. Assuming that everything stays together, the country is polarizing more and more and more. And I'm probably, on the surface, very different than lots of your listeners, but that has nothing to do with it. One of the key messages that's so important is the fact that Black Americans need to see themselves as a group first.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there because he's giving it quite a bit. So, he's coming to the table. I would argue just from hearing, and hopefully I'm taking it that those of you listening to this now or later, in good faith, like, hey, we've listened to the whole like 2.5 minutes. He's not, there's not this kind of like twerky, edgy setup that he's like moving for. He's coming to the table with very good faith, saying, hey, we're different groups, we're this or that, very honest, very open, very, is germane the word that I'm looking for? It could be, but I could be wrong. So he's just like, hey, and the idea is Blacks seeing each other as separate groups. Like, so I mentioned that here in this kind of sphere, the Yvette Carnell area, kind of the overlap with the Tone Talks and some of these other like kind of Black folks, they're speaking very much about Black descendants of slaves. So even where Eric isn't necessarily saying this right now, but like what he's kind of like in a certain way picking up, reinforcing is that is a conversation that is emerging, that there are separate groups of Black people. So like basically Blacks in themselves we have to paint these broad strokes and fall into certain camps of like, I'm the black person here, you're the white person there, you're the Hispanic person there, the Asian person there, etc. and so forth. So he's coming to the table really open and honest and earnest and making, a good case. Like, I mean, there was this was actually Amiri Brown, the Great Liberators. He had a video, and the guy sounded drunk. It was like some kind of like, about, I don't know if we ever said he was Identitarian or this, that, and the third, but someone else white called in and like he sounded like he'd had a few to drink and he just got all surly with it, and he just kind of was like doing like a low key troll, But as the conclusion, I'll just give you a spoiler alert here. I'm basically going to tell you that even if you call in, you're just trying to be very honest. And you know what? I haven't done this in a while because I keep wanting to say this, but I don't want to say it if I'm completely wrong. Relevant to a subject under consideration. Okay, so no, that wasn't necessarily the word I was looking for. So we have a word of the day here. It's like Sesame Street, baby. Germaine. Relevant to a subject under consideration. It's relevant, but that wasn't what I was looking for necessarily. Now I'm really, really lost. I would like to do a thesaurus, the thesaurus search. Oh, cute kitty. You know what I do? I need you guys to give me 1 second because I need to. Are you bugging me? I need to step away for like 2 seconds. Literally 2 seconds. I swear. I'm gonna find something cool for you guys to listen to. Ooh, look, your current live streams. That's me, baby. Woo woo. Morrissey moments. Well, fuck, why not? I'll be back in 1 second, y'all. Enjoy my Maz. Seriously, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Enjoy our Father, the Son, the Holy Maz.
Well, we're sad. Well, life is a serious business, Jonathan. It really is.
You should lighten up.
How?
Just relax. Come around and we'll play tennis.
I'm just singing me. I'm just sort of singing my life, as it were, and whatever that may be, and whether they be high happy periods or low periods, I just record them. And it's really that simple, or rather, that boring. I'm very happy, yes. Very, very happy. Yes. Should I be? Well, I am. Thank you.
His music conjures feelings of loneliness you can only feel hosting a show at 12:30 on CBS.
And it's a very pleasant place, as long as you don't meet people.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to. Human beings are meant to live together. I really don't. I don't think human beings get on in any capacity. Not everybody's a fat old slag. Not everybody is.
How many friends have you got?
7. Well, I like the trees, and I like the sky.
Or a pig that commits suicide from listening to too many of your songs.
You shouldn't laugh at that. Was it really that bad? Yeah, it's bad. It's worse than we actually think it was. I just sing the songs which make me happiest. It's that simple. I don't sing anything because I think people might want to hear it. That's quite ludicrous, isn't it? When they find out what I'm really like.
What are you really like then? What do you mean by that?
I've got no idea.
Would you like it if we sang you Happy Birthday?
Okay, I'll stop there. Ooh, I have to go back and watch that later. So, yeah. I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I'll stop there. Ooh. Okay, I hate when you have these overlaps. How did everything like time out? Yeah, sorry. Everything's like weird right now. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. It's weird. It's like nice when you're in a stream with other people and you can kind of just get away with that. But then, like, with just one person, like, I'll be back. Here's some Morrissey. All right. Let's just dive back in.
As America gets more and more diverse with more and more immigration and blah, 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 all these other groups are going to be looking out for their own self-interest. Whether it's Mexicans, Chinese, Nigerians, whoever, they're going to see themselves as their own tribe, as their own group, and they're going to be helping their own group. And ultimately, they have a whole...
Okay, there's a quick pause there. Now, this has been a discussion boiling up in a lot of circles that Black people have to like stop caring about these Mexicans, this immigration thing. I mean, I may be in a bubble in terms of like maybe like the 3 to 5 Black people like Yvette Carnell or Cynthia G and some of the outside like the general Black woman sphere that I run in. There's like maybe 5 other different channels I kind of pop into to see what the discussion is and just what's going on. And I've been very happy to see a very kind of, I don't want to say cold, but I don't want to say it. I feel like I'm just trying to be a chick right now. And I'm like, oh, that would be cool. But no, you're seeing Black who say no, enough's enough. We don't really care what these people are or aren't doing. And we can't sit here and go marching for them. So one of the key things I guess I would leave it here is to say in that point, it kind of ties into a grand theory that I've had about the whole like racial discussion. I'm gonna go out of screen share for a second. Is that the 1960s Great Society kind of movement and ideas? A big part of that push, too many Black people. Now, there's an argument I've seen made by others, and I'm going to say this just as a preface that I don't necessarily completely agree with it, and I see things in my own worldview a lot differently. But I'm just using this general idea that other Black people have kind of posited to say, I'm totally slow with that, to try to offer this up. 1 second, take a quick sip. My voice is getting dry. Dry. So, we take this whole concept of the DOS, descendants of slaves, Black Americans. Again, this separates us from the second, third, fourth, new generation arrivals of people from West Africa, South Africa, Eastern Africa. We get to Somalis. Those people, when you remove them from discussion, basically, if we draw a line down 1965, and those coming from Africa after that versus the people who, well, because, okay, now I get lost in my own, like, cul-de-sac there. Basically, this idea that the 60s and the civil rights and Great Society movements just kind of open things up. Now, this is a theorem. I have a way different, more nuanced stance to this, but this is where it's been posited by more of the Carnell, Tone Loki kind of Blackosphere, which I think has something to add. And I've actually kind of come to around some of these conclusions myself, that the descendants of a lot of the civil rights, Great Society movements and those provisions at the federal level all the way down were born out of what was perceived to be in America since the Black American descendant of slave struggle. Affirmative action, Civil Rights Act, voting bills, all those things were built off of us. And I'm using big air quotes at both of my middle index finger when I say that. So it was built off of us and our struggle here in America, our Mein Kampf, if you will. So for all these other groups to start slowly coming, all these other, basically any other brown, non-white, non-Christian, non-heterosexual male groups to come and eat from that table, from then on to now, is rather problematic, if you will. And this tribalness that is the caller Erica suggesting that we should be more privy to has been completely eroded, and it was eroded from the beginning. I mean, if you kind of look at the way that even so, one time I thought about this. Like, look at when was it Peter Brokaw started selling his whole like was that him with the whole Woodstock and looking back on the time and the movement, guys. In a way, it is a parallel to the civil rights movement. It's like every black person over like 60 or 70 now, like I marched with Martin Luther King. It was so great. There's this idea of this reselling, rehashing of this time. So instead of wearing bell bottoms and listening to like Jefferson Airplane, you kind of put your imaginary, like, Sunday's Best and march around, get at a Woolworths counter. Like, it's the same type of like, historical revisionism, cosplaying as some like person in that era that you see. So, uh, basically, we didn't from that point, even when you have the Cesar Chavez's and you have other non-white groups at the same time agitating, the sexual revolution, the cultural revolutions happening at that time. We already had built maybe some of this coalition off of the specific experience of descendants of slave Black Americans, but there were all these other non-white male, which could fold in some white and Jewish women into the game. People right there ready to eat from that table as well, even though the kind of roots into a lot of those social changes was built on these poor widow Black people, oppressed by the white man in chains, in slavery, they Django unchained and shit. So when he goes to saying like seeing yourself as distinct groups, this is something that Black Americans have completely failed at. But then you kind of it's been baked into the cake since the inception of a lot of these like legislative and social changes that have been in play for about the past 50 to 60. If you even factor in the very endings of World War II, the post World War II era, you see this is already baked in that we just do not see ourselves as a distinct group, and too much of the inertia and too much of like the was to like get under the white Anglo-Saxon, heterosexual male, it was more about getting under his skin and then letting everyone that wasn't him into the fold to benefit from these social provisions. So anyway, I'll come back in because I didn't come in before. Let's jump back into Lavidia.
If the science fiction apocalyptic America goes belly up, they still have a place to go. White Americans, Black Americans.
Let's bounce back so big so I want to hear his point.
First. And as America gets more hobble along for a while, we might see a collapse. But the apocalyptic stuff is somewhat science fiction, so I'm going to stay away from that. Assuming that everything stays together, the country is polarizing more and more and more. And I'm probably, on the surface, very different than lots of your listeners, but that has nothing to do with it. One of the key messages.
It was okay. We hear that. I'm not like a lot of your listeners, but that doesn't have that much to do with it. Again, like there's this, again, like we all in the scene know what like a soft core troll can be, and and even if it was, and it all very well could be, like he's being really respectful, kind, and cool. Like, I mean, this is really interesting, and he's saying like, I'm not like most of your listeners. I think I've heard another white guy call in once, and again, I'm not a big Carnell seer person. I just listen when I can listen, and I think I've heard maybe he was Jewish. I kind of feel like someone Jewish called in once to talk with her, but I could be wrong. But I know there's been other non-white people, and I don't think there's ever a woman. It was like a man. I'm not your traditional listeners, but I'm here and I'm listening, and it's like some of the experiences I've run into in like the distant right, alt-right, where you're like, hey, like I read Marcus Garvey, or like Black nationalism, and most of you at this point can get an idea how I feel about those things, because you're going to kind of hear, I'll wrap this into a point with how, her reaction you've already seen. But basically what I'm saying is like, someone come to the table, with pretty much across the map, like unless I'm missing something, was a very good faith argument discussion. I'm here, hey, like I see these things. And there's nothing he says or even says here in his point that just comes off like it's basically the proof is in the pudding that a lot of these like there's this deep seatedness of like that Whitey owes black people something. And it's not just the hood rats. It's not just Pookie and them or Boom Shink and them in the corner. It's built into a lot of things. I was listening to some other stream earlier. I think it was like Sinji and Mary Brown and some people. And when you have this whole, I don't want to call it a meme of white supremacy because I don't necessarily want to say that, but like there's this, I'm still having trouble explaining it myself, but I think on the surface, what I would say is if you inherently think that Whitey's pulling something over off of you, and you have these ideas, and they're just ideas, but like you can't look at the reason of some separation, some legal things, and things that weren't legal, but they were just more culturally and socially restrictions put amongst Black people by most majority white societies and groups, or just more certain white groups. You're going to always think that someone is just out to get you. And there is some validity to that feeling. But then when I say that, I have to then go, well, the validity comes from the fact that perhaps a part of it that you don't have the certain type of IQ or cognition to understand why these groups would do and say the things they would do. Like I said this last night in a video, I might have to go back to this comment again. It was someone left it on a Kendall St. Charles Brooklyn Blue video saying basically, she was like, I argue that a lot of what Black people perceive as racism from white people is really just white people recognizing a lot of Black people's fuckery and things that they won't tolerate. So you can call it racism, white supremacy, but it's just them going, no, that's not cool. That's not what we do. If I'm not trying to boil everything to IQ completely, because again, which I think there's something that came up recently that I do want to revisit the RK selection theory. You go watch that video here on my channel because I think I'm going to take that one down because I don't think I did enough justice to that subject. I think I need to have brought like at least two like examples or two topics to kind of unpack within that discussion. So that may be coming very soon. But so even if you don't want to the IQ, if you don't want to do the IQ thing, I think the RK selection strategy offers some other interesting insights. Basically, I kind of went on a little tangent there. I want to stop that tangent and jump back in to the video because a lot of these points will kind of wrap themselves amongst each other as I move through this. So let's jump back in. I'm not going to go back up again. So
that's so important is the fact that Black Americans need to see themselves as a group first. And as America gets more and more diverse with more and more immigration and blah, 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 all these other groups are going to be looking out for their own self-interest, whether it's Mexicans, Chinese.
Ooh, pause there. Yes, and he's definitely right because I think I've said this before briefly. I've noticed enough Black people saying, hey, in this discussion, these are the Mexicans, it's their stuff. Now, she actually, I'm not going to go find it, but I think it was last week's video I did listen to about the immigration thing because they were making the point that a lot of these Black politician, political class Blacks are like, oh, these poor Mexicans, oh my God. And I'll give her and her audience enough, definitely enough credit to say, I mean, they're not the only Black people saying this, like, publicly, but like, whoa, like, you're our elected officials, and you're sitting here big up in these like people who can be depressing wages and changing the social living status amongst us in certain parts of America. And there were about 3 callers, maybe there were 2, I want to say 3, who are Black people living in Southern California, particularly around Los Angeles area, with quite a few horror stories. Now, if anyone's interested, I don't know if I could go back and listen to the whole thing and timestamp it, but Jared Taylor at Towson University, this was probably about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say. He mentions this. I think he mentions it twice in that talk that he gave at that university. Because Matt Heimbach went to school there, and Jared Taylor was invited to give a talk. And he mentions the kind of basic ethnic cleansing of Southern California of Black people by the encroaching in, Mexican, basically south of the border. I mean, we could be talking Guatemalans, Ecuadorians. I don't want to collapse all just into the Mexicans, but you see what I'm saying. So this is not a new subject. So interestingly enough, I found it kind of like a little bit of an awe moment to see Jared Taylor vindicated by these 3 Black callers calling into this woman, Yvette Carnell's stream, and saying, yeah, we live here and this is what these motherfuckers are up to here. And basically, you can't be sitting here caping for these groups. Like, again, going back to the previous point I said about the 1960s Great Society and that fallout, a large part of the problem is Black people in a collective sense to their detriment. Now, especially by now, it's mostly just the Black woman's detriment. The Black man has understood how to play his game where it benefits him and to not do it where it doesn't benefit him. But Black women are still putting on capes for any and everyone, like the Roy Moore thing. I never talked about this on the channel. I don't think I really had this channel up in any functioning sense when that happened. It's an interesting reason I get why, if a certain amount of them turned out, like I kept thinking, we think about the rape, molestation, sexual abuse of Black women and girls in Black American Black communities. The Roy Moore thing, and as that story started to kind of trickle out, even, and it's going to sound apologetic, but I don't care. I'm going to say this very bluntly. I'm not going to say it that way, because basically what I'm trying to get at is, yeah, okay, you're like 30, you're kind of like hipster racist on Aaron Skynet addresses very well, called him a beta. You just kind of sit around simping after like high school girls in your 30s. Dude, that's a little bit skeevy and weird. But the stories that happen in Blackistan, in Black America, I don't have the real way to like say this the way I want to say it, because it's not perfect, but that's fine. There's certain things, and it's to say like nobody should be molested, raped, or sexually abused. I'm totally not saying that, whether you're black, white, red, yellow, purple. There's a difference between some like white man in the 1970s of a certain stature flirt with younger women versus what we see today with like the rape and incest and the like goddamn blatant abuse in a race of people with like approximately 70% out of wedlock birth rates and all the other weird degeneracy that flows from there. I get tired. This word getting so overused in some ways. It's not even just that. It's like, I really kind of stepped in that one. Basically, let me wrap that back. Let me wheel that back in. When Black women got all these props for like 2 days on Twitter from like people, oh, Black women stopped Roy Moore, isn't that so great? And it's like, no, because actually, maybe I'll do this afterwards. Maybe I'll just drop it right here. The Maxine Waters things, like Black women, stop siding with these nutty Black women. Do not mean more of this reclaim my time Maxine Waters level shit. We don't need to be the face of defiance. I don't see her. It's like her and that weird chick from Texas, that other senator with the like freaking, what do you call it? The cowboy hat. Like, no. We don't need to be a part of any of that stuff. Like, it's really cringeworthy to say the least, and we should just stop it. Don't be that face of defiance, especially like there's that black professor chick with her like really fat ass sitting with some white marker board like basic white men need to die and shit. And it's like, girl, really? No. We ain't siding with this. We're not a part of this. Maxine Waters is really wasting her time. There's nobody gonna be there to cape for her when the shit hits the fan. And too many Black women like her, that are mothers and grandmothers and beyond them generations, being mammy mules out here taking all the hits. You're doing it for no good reason. Besides my own political disagreements. Let's say I was like a liberal, I was a Democrat. You're a Black woman out here putting your face and your name to all this defiance. you're going to catch the bows and arrows, and no one's going to be there to save you. And I guarantee some black men and black women are going to be calling you some loudmouth, angry black woman 2 minutes from now. So just, like, stop it. And if you're a black woman trying to sit here and, like, meaning, reclaim my time, you know, you're just as dumb as she is. And it's really stupid. It's a waste of time. Move in stealth. Shut the fuck up. You know, take the cape off and sit down somewhere. Anywho, back in.
The Nigerians, whoever, they're going to see themselves as their own tribe, as their own group, and they're going to be helping their own group. And ultimately, they have a home. If the science fiction apocalyptic America goes belly up, they still have a place to go. White Americans, Black Americans, Native Americans, or Indigenous Americans, First Nation, we don't have any other place to go. White Americans, I can't go back to Germany. You as a Black American cannot just go back to Africa. We don't have any other homes. And so until Americans start actually seeing ourselves as actual owners of this nation, and actually, I mean, I consider myself a white identitarian, but
we got a round of Brow Ridge, baby. We got a round of Brow Ridge. Now, before that, it's 1:14. Let's just go run back real quick.
One of the key messages that's so important is the fact that Black Americans need to see themselves as a group first. And as America gets more and more diverse with more and more immigration and blah, 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 all these other groups are going to...
Boom. That's something I've been thinking about for a little bit. There's not this, like... Ooh, let me close these things. They're going to all still stream up. There's not this idea of... seeing yourself as one people. As world becomes more diverse, like for instance, like I'll just pull them up on a Google search. Like, well, let's see. Look at, I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong. Aziz Ansari. Pretty chocolatey, melanated looking dude. Look at him. Oh, he's taller. I thought that was Conan O'Brien. I'm like, can't be taller than Conan O'Brien. Look at him. Pretty dark chocolatey fella. Don't really feel like pulling up his stats. I hope he's doing his parents, I'd imagine. Yeah, look at them. Mom and dad. How about, let's take a quick look at Mindy Kaling. Sorry, American family picture somewhere. She had plastic surgery? That's what TMZ said. I don't know. Yeah, so Mindy Kaling. These are both people from, the kind of eastern edge, like the world. I'm assuming they're both Indian. Look, I'll be honest. I've done enough research on the ethnic backgrounds of both of them. But what I'm trying to make very clear, is there a way I can maybe get like a side-by-side photo of them? Make this damn point that I want to make. I need to make these points. Oh, we got a couple of them. Ooh, her and John Mayer. I love John Mayer. Well, I used to. Ugh. Not with Lena Dunham. That's gross. Okay. Reads Ahmed. Raw Yagina, ethnic cleansing. Okay. God, I hate Us Weekly, People Magazine. Fuck me. Stop loading bullshit. Okay. Now, look at them. Nice guy on the left. I don't know who he is. He's not part of my original example. But look at them. They're pretty melanated people. Pretty chocolatey, dark skin, all that, melanin on fleek looking folks. One of the big things that I've kind of been coming around to is, do people really need particularly the Black DOS experience? And we're already subtly maybe seeing this with the Africans, the Lapitas, and even like Idris Elba. I'm not sure if he was born in Africa and he's like came to Britain later. Where basically they don't need to source us, DOS, descendants of slaves, Black Americans, for a lot of things. And then even beyond, so that was already one discussion that's been kind of heating up in certain pockets. But then from there, like, look at them. They're pretty brown people. They got some melanin on fleek. Look at it. Do we really need to like deal with like the Black American constant like perpetually aggrieved nature about most things in this country when you can import people from India, Pakistan, wherever from that part of the world? Where there's been cases even in day-to-day life where I've run into folks from those parts of the world, and just in passing and being close to them, some of them are even slightly more darker skinned than I am. This necessity that particularly Black Americans think that they have here, they could just import other people who are running the same type of melanin skin tone, looks. Are you really all that necessary? I don't really know. So don't want to go too far into that trajectory, but just look at the two of them and listen to Black Americans talk about our melanin, they need us. Well, do they really? If I squint real hard, they could be an easy replacement. It's a bunch of them over there. Bring them in, import them in. This whole, I almost feel like that's part of where this whole melanin 1,000, 10,000, 9,000 meme has really gotten so big amongst a lot of sectors of Black people, because it's just something to cling on to. It's like, no, boo. They can just import that from other parts of the world. You squint real hard, may put them in a head wrap, pick some cotton, some ahistorical film. I might buy it. Who knows? Anyway, just keep that in mind. That's something I'm going to return to. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm glad that came up in this video, because I've been thinking that for a second. So, anyway.
Looking out for their own self-interest, whether it's Mexicans, Chinese, Nigerians, whoever, they're going to see themselves as their own tribe, as their own group, and they're going to be helping their own group. And ultimately, they have a home. If the science fiction apocalyptic America goes belly up, they still have a place to go. White Americans, Black Americans, Native Americans, or Indigenous Americans, First Nation, we don't have any other place to go. White Americans, I can't go back to Germany. You as a Black American cannot just go back to Africa. We don't have any other homes. And so until Americans start actually seeing ourselves as actual owners of this nation.
I'll jump in with the owners of this nation. It's just Black Caller called like a week or so ago on like another like stream of the channel, blood equity, and became this little meme amongst them. Like, oh my God, he called it blood equity. And it's interesting like phrasing of it, because it just ties back into what I said again about Black descendants of slaves, the Native Americans falling under the various tribal banners they fall under across every corner of this continent, the North American continent, particularly, the North American borders of the United States, and the white settlers and people who settled this country, from the Pilgrims through the Wasps, through the kind of what we think of as a kind of like the losing a word here again. The high verbal IQ is failing me. The whites that we know and have come to see as the people who solidified and founded America as we know it. Those three of us groups, those are the people who have the blood equity here and who are the owners of this country. All the people coming after it You can be a part of things and nobody just says that you aren't. But since the three of us, the origin story amongst this country, people who've been here since the settling, we need to have a talk.
Actually, I mean, I consider myself a white identitarian, but
What? Oh my god, this is great. I didn't really catch the brow furrow until like rewatching this with you all here. Oh my god.
You consider yourself a what?
A white identitarian.
What's that?
I mean, I'm basically, I'm a white racialist. I want the best for white Americans. But the white
you want the best? Wait a minute. You want the best for who?
I want what's best for white Americans as my own people, but I also want what's best. But the thing about being a
you can't come on here and say you want what's best for white Americans and then think you're going to keep talking. Why do you say, what's wrong with everybody? He said, I'm a white identitarian. He called in to Breaking Brown. White people, y'all some bold people. He called in to Breaking Brown and said, I'm a white identitarian. And I said, what's that? And he says, I want what's best for white people. But, ain't no but after you say I want what's best for white people. Ain't no but. Like, ain't no but. I want what's best for white people, but I want y'all to have some chicken legs and potato wedges and maybe some. What are you talking about? Oh my God, I feel unwell.
I like chicken legs and potato wedges. Anyway, besides that, like, you just see that, like, this is really hard to explain. This is where I've kind of gone into like these. So like anybody who listens to this, who sees me in streams and talking, this is what I'm trying to get at you. This is what I'm trying to get at you about this question with most Black people. It's not just the hood rats, the dindu, the random hood rat dindu. It's not just the like good Blacks, the like Michael Eric Dysons and Melissa Perry's, the this, that, and the third. Like this is an across the map problem with Black people that you're just gonna have to step over. I really give Eric, and I wish somebody, if anybody in the comments, anybody comes across the video knows who this person is, maybe if he even comes across it, please reach out and find me, because like, us Twin Cities folks need like some people to talk to up in this piece. I would love to talk to this guy. I mean, everything he said came across in good faith. Let's say if he was trolling, he didn't call in like this one guy on some other stream. He was some white guy talking about 1488. He's on some Black stream. He started acting all foolish and drunk, and it was just kind of cringy and goofy. This guy sounded legitimately legit, but as you can see from like the face palm, forehead palm, that a lot. They don't really feel like you can say these great things and say we all want our own identity, our own homelands. Like, I love that Ramsey Paul like has kind of like really boiled this down to this really great like saying, and he's not the first person to do it, I don't think, but he's been really consistent in his works, his Twitter feed, and his channels about this. But the problem is you're going to keep bouncing into Black people like Yvette and folks who they have a completely different worldview, and this is where in some of the oft repeated criticism of the alt-right, this and right, that kind of come back and out of is saying that you really have to be careful just assuming that these non-whites, particularly Blacks, want their own nationalism too. Like I already closed the tab up here, but excuse me. I was listening to like Duvid's stream tonight, post his JF debate, and it was really cool. And it's just randomly some guy was like, "Oh, we talked to some like Black nationalists," and then you guys always end up arguing with him, or they just start talking a bunch of weird stuff, like what you kind of perceive as Black people wanting some separate economic, social identity. The basic building points of it is built on, more often than not, these kind of grievances against whites that you may or may not be able to repair, or the only way to repair them is to completely go 9,000 red pill on the RK IQ question, which is, so you're not going to really win this discussion. And like I said, that Hotep Jesus debate, like You're not gonna like get some like Lethal Weapon movie where like the black Danny Glovers and the white Mel Gibsons unite against the Jew enemy or unite to like do certain things. So it's really sad because like I feel for this guy. He sounds genuine, like he was trying to make a great point, but you are talking to black people who are coming from these positions that you think, oh, they want these independent things, they should feel these certain ways, but they don't. And too much of what they want that may be more beneficial than being like leashes is then predicated on some type of grievance against whites, whether it's founded or unfounded or whatever. And you're going to keep running into these brick walls of like, you're an identitarian? What? You know, your people. And it's like, I get where they're coming from, but that's the key of this. Like, there's just there's almost like this impasse that either there's two ways to approach this. You're going to have to just burrow through and say, no, like, you guys collectively, in a large, broad stroke sense, need to understand that this is the country that was built by a certain stock of people. And yeah, you're here, but you don't need to be here. And this was a mistake on all parts. But you can understand. You're going to have to say uncomfortable things and just push forward and push through. It's not about getting blacks to understand certain things, to unite with them, or do anything in a collective sense. Because as I pointed out, and as I'm seeing, a lot of these discussions break down amongst blacks internally themselves, black men, black women on this side, even some more hardcore anti-white supremacy types, i.e. Cynthia G, they're having this breakdown amongst their own groups where they're calling out certain behaviors amongst black men predominantly and the enablingness of black general culture. There's a lot of these internal schisms happening right now. Whites don't need to ask for permission or need to like join up or do anything with the blacks. Do anything. You need your own agenda and a certain way of dealing with this situation. You move forward and you do what's necessary. Majority of black people, even when they aren't sagging their pants, they aren't being boom shikwas and pookies and ray rays. Once you eliminate that third of the populace, you deal with the next third, like Yvette, her ilk, and people like this on this channel, where there's something intrinsic about how they feel about whiteness and white supremacy or whatever. You may be able to get around it at some point. And the thing is, I don't doubt many of them don't know or don't see it, but it's almost like this the most unspeakable thing. Like I got into this like in a stream, I think I was talking to Dennis that one night. I said, like, you know, when you look at this race honestly and who we are and our relationship to ourselves and giving birth to these people as a black woman across the planet, like, do I want any part of this? And that's a heartbreaking thing to say. But that's the other half of this too. We may all know this intrinsically, but you know, it's the speak the truth, shame the devil statement. Like, you know, to speak the truth, you'd be shaming the devil, and it will be a revolution. I feel like I'm kind of stepping around and out. But yeah, oh my God, why didn't hear? You know, this person actually probably has, you know, so it's funny. Eric has a lot more respect in my book and someone that I would love to buy a beer for and like cook up a great steak for than Yvette Carnell in the last video that I did with her and the guy she's talking to, basically saying all the kind of like messed up, well, you know, you gotta deal with us, sisters. You know, we gotta stick together. And a lot of and there's black men. There's some weird black women who come on the channel. Like I feel more common now. It's like Eric, who is probably being a lot more. His argument's more in good faith as a white identitarian than black people like Yvette and her people in this channel who aren't really trying to get anywhere besides they're still like she kind of called the boomer question amongst blacks, the blacks who brag about they march with Martin Luther King and stuff, but they drop the ball immensely for their own people and their or quote unquote people, but we've never really been a cohesive. We're just these people floating across the diaspora out of sub-Saharan Africa. And that's so much of like the black story that has no rootedness to anything. It's just all these impressions of being in a white Western majority countries, being a part of the past you know, the first 0 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 500 years of civilization outside of that year 0 in the dark continent from the beginning. Opens up so many things to say, man. I could say a lot. I don't want to say too much more. Oh, hey, Dennis. I don't know if you're still. Does this like tell me like the time someone said something? I was like over here in my like all the leaves are brown moment. Hi, Dennis. Yeah. I've never done this before. Let me see if this works. Yeah, I was like listening to no, you're on Luke tonight, and then I heard some of the Duvid JF stream. That was pretty cool. I mean, he was like super like woo. I was listening to it at work tomorrow. It's like 3-hour stream. Yeah, I'm still here. They ain't black, and they ain't never going back. Hell. Hey, I'm gonna step away for one quick second. I left that question out there in the stream. How about a little Ma's father? And I'll be right back. I'll listen to this later too.
I'd be terribly embarrassed, but I really think you should do it.
Yeah. Am I going to see you get changed?
Only in your dreams.
Louder.
Because I haven't had my bacon. Why? Why are you so
When fish are caught, they suffocate and they scream really loudly. People think they're just very quiet and they flap a bit and it's over, but they go through extreme hell. It's not nice, then, is it? Well, how could it be? I mean, nobody could be that hungry, really. If you stick your grandmother in an oven, she will probably be tasty. But is that any reason to eat your grandmother? And I've never heard a good argument for eating animals, ever. And you can't say, well, it tastes nice, because it doesn't until you garnish it and stick salt and pepper, you fry it, you grill it, blah, 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 blah. But nobody just kills an animal and eats it straight away. Because no, I never make phone calls, ever. Never. Well, because mostly I don't really want to speak to people.
You ever answer the phone?
No, I never answer the phone. Never. I don't like people, to be honest. Simplicity mixed with a little hint of aggression. Which is fantastic. I think it's my best ever album. Wow.
I'm so very sickened. I'm so sickened now.
Yes. Well, it's just a general comment. I think we all feel that way most of the time.
If I was really hungry. But I wouldn't, not through choice, I know what you're saying.
But it's very, very difficult to see quality.
So you're watching other musicians, and then you get sick.
The lonely high court judges. When you sleep, I will creep into your thoughts like a bad debt that you can't pay. Take the easy way and give it.
You never feel like, well, I'll soften it a bit tonight. I'll turn on the old Moz and charm and make
There is no Moz and charm.
Oh, there must be some.
There absolutely is not. No, there really is.
And isn't LA too sunny for Morrissey?
No. I mean, I just live about 5 streets away from here, so this is quite interesting. You were searching for.
Yeah, I wasn't personally.
Just around the corner.
I knew.
Can we be friends after the show? I don't think so.
Oh, well, people said if we want you, you get you.
Yeah.
Everybody knows we have so many songs, more songs than they
She's a...
Go down to Crunch to the gym. You go to
Oh, the
the
Maz.
gym.
The Maz, the Maz, the Maz. So, I think we kind of wrapped everything up here. And I know I'm working to keep things a little tighter. So I'm gonna leave this here. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this here. Thanks just for showing up and saying hey in the comments. That was cool. So I'm gonna leave it here and I'm gonna just hit end. And I think I might maybe, I know I keep always teasing. I think I'm at one video a night per person now, it feels like. It should be more. But I'm working on it. And plus, we're getting close to the weekend. I'm kind of teasing this out that, like, maybe Saturdays would be a nice, like, time to do, like, maybe my own Saturday Night Live. Or something. But, I don't know. There's just some things I want to still talk about and do. And, again, consistency considering this past month of travels and Dalian says, darling, I should be doing things like that. And plus, there's people I'm slowly tapping to say, hey, do you want to, like, come on, let's talk, let's, chew the fat and all that good stuff. So look for more to come. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning for me here. Woo. There's some comments I want to address. If someone's been commenting a bit on some older videos that I want to, like, reach back out to, and I already dropped a line out of 2 people like, hey, you want to come on? Let's talk. Let's do this. So I would say maybe tonight I might be done, but I might come back. Who knows? If not tomorrow, now, today, tomorrow, and always. But tell me what that reference is from in the comments section. Please like, share, and subscribe. Again, I know also we're saying that, but it's the total truth. That's how things grow. It's my little desk fold out. Burp, burp. So yeah, all right. I'm gonna sign off from this. Thank you so much for listening, and it's been real, y'all. Real, realer than real deal, Holyfield. Have a good night, and I will see you very soon.